friends and fellow nerds. Strider here. This is the Second Age Amazon TV show podcast. And of course, I'm here with our friends Kyle. Hello.
Hey, man. Great to be here.
Hey. And of course, our friend Lakita. Yeah, hi.
Good evening, gentlemen. Lovely to be back.
Lovely to be here again with you. So, I hope you are excited as I am to discuss the news that we have here. We have 4 interesting pieces of information about the show. So, shall we begin?
Yes, let's dig into it.
The first one is that the character of Círdan and the location of the Great Havens, or as they're called, Mythloth, will be a prominent location in Season 1 of Lothar on Prime. That's quite exciting news for me. So what do you guys think?
Yay! So as far as I'm concerned, I mean, this is really magnificent news. It's not the biggest surprise. Like, Círdan, of course, is one of the most beloved and certainly one of the longest-lived elves of Middle-earth, despite the fact that we actually know fairly little about him. So, in the Second Age, he resided in the Grey Havens, and there are some interesting bits about him. He had a lot to do during the Second Age, like he made friends with several prominent Númenórean explorers like Aventur and Eldarion, and he was actually against the creation of the Rings of Power, but would later come to be the bearer of Narya, the Ring of Fire, which, as we know, he eventually passed on to Gandalf in the Third Age. And he also participated in the Last Alliance. And interestingly, he was actually there with Elrond during the famous, cast it into the fire, destroy it, Isildur scene. So that's an omission in the films that the show can perhaps correct. So we could maybe actually see him participate there. And after Gil-galad's death, he was the one who ruled the remaining elves of Lindon. So historically, he's certainly a very prominent elf during the Second Age, and I think it would be a real missed opportunity not to show him. And another thing, I think this gives us a potentially very interesting dynamic between him and Gil-galad. So I'm really curious to see where they take him. And I have to say that the Grey Havens were perhaps my very favorite location from the film trilogy, and I really hope they keep at least some of the designs close to their film version, because I thought they were absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I'd also say this is, it's not unexpected that Círdan would feature prominently in the Grey Havens. It's another piece of Peter Jackson's universe that Amazon can shoe in, and it fits just as well as anything else. And yeah, maybe we can have a bearded Círdan this time rather than a beardless Círdan.
Yeah, that's one of the fun facts about him, that he is like the only elf mentioned that has a beard, which is really, really, really cool.
Not according to Peter Jackson, though.
And if the dwarven ladies don't get to have beards, then why would Círdan have one?
Yeah.
Good point.
Justice for dwarven.
Thank you.
But I think he is actually one of the oldest elves. Like, I think he was, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's actually one of the original elves that woke up all the way in the east of the lake. Riviera? I think that's the pronunciation in English.
That was perfect.
Yeah, so I think he's actually like literally one of the oldest elves ever.
He's the granddaddy.
He's the granddaddy, and that's why he has a beard.
Ah, yeah.
Definitely.
It's an interesting point, though. Actually, I was just going to say it's an interesting point because it will be. We've talked a lot about how things seem to be lining up to match with Peter Jackson's films, but this certainly, I don't think they can do Círdan the same way that Peter Jackson did.
He practically didn't do him at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that it would really. I would be the Grey Havens should hopefully look as similar as possible to what it did in the movie.
Yes.
Because they sound like they are really like like perfection. So I would love to see that. If they could make it look like that, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I can't agree more. And even so, there's gonna be a lot of difference between the Mythland of the Second Age, a bustling kind of metropolis, and then the deserted place that we visit in the end of the Fellowship, the Return of the King. So there's gonna be heaps of variety there anyway. It's not gonna be a copy. Just like if we see Rivendell, it's gonna be a whole different place. So yeah, I really, really want to see that. But there's actually something that kind of made me think, because in the official synopsis that we got, Mythland wasn't mentioned anywhere. Lindon was mentioned, but it was mentioned something along the lines of a woodland capital of Lindon. So the news that we are in fact getting Mythland at all, that's really good news to me. So
Good point.
I'm super excited. Do you guys have any theories about who may be portraying him?
I have an idea, but I think we probably have the same idea, so maybe Strider.
I don't have an idea.
Oh, you
so
don't?
go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, my thought is...
I don't think I do.
I think ever since I saw that photo of Daniel Wayman with his beard, I was pretty sold on that.
He's got very elven features.
He does.
But I don't know. That theory has lost me.
Really?
I don't believe that anymore. Yeah. Well, we know which character he's supposed to be playing.
Well,
we do,
that's
right?
true. Yeah. Yes, that's true.
I think we do.
Yeah.
So his character doesn't really sound like he doesn't really sound like Círdan to me whatsoever. So that's maybe part of the reason.
I think it's a good. I think that's a good question actually. Like, who could play him? Because actually, I think of that because when they said Círdan, I just defaulted to an image of him that had like appears in my head, and I didn't think about the actor. That's a good question.
I think actually the one that was when the cast was released, there was somebody who sported a nice luscious white beard, and that was Mr. Jeff Morrell. His picture was kind of one that I could see being a good representation of what I imagine Círdan to be like, because he has those sad blue eyes. He looks quite elven to me as well, so I think he would be my best candidate. A lot of people wanted him for Witch King, which that could mean that we imagine Círdan and the Witch King in a very similar way. But yeah, I think he would be my first pick besides Daniel Wayman. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
I like
he didn't.
the connection. Okay, I'll get. You want to? Yeah.
No, please go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to say the connection you made about the dynamic between Círdan and Gil-galad. That's also it was actually really interesting. Yeah, how they deal with each other, because as how Círdan is much older, and I mean at this point, Gil-galad would be like what, 1,000 years old.
Practically a teenager.
Yeah, like basically teenager. So what would he know? Like 1,000 years of experience, and there's Círdan who has like 10,000 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. And honestly, I'm very happy that we're gonna see Círdan, because he's definitely one of the more interesting characters, and someone who he was one of the OG bearers of the Rings of Power and elves. So actually, Gil-galad was the original.
No, actually it was him. So Círdan got Narya, the Ring of Fire, who later was passed on to Gandalf. So I think Gil-galad got Vilya. That's right. Gave it to Elrond later on. So that could be an interesting dynamic too. The two of them possibly being both in Mythland, and each with a very fancy, sparkly ring on their finger, and just discussing what to do with them. That is, of course, if we do get to see the forging. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've heard some
Really cool.
plot details, but we haven't heard much about rings, right? Like rings should, in general, play a fairly big part in this. You would think.
You would think, huh? Yeah, but on the other hand, they're normally pretty small, so it's not like something that would draw a lot of attention to itself anywhere during the filming. So who
Very
knows?
true. Very true.
We did hear that, Celebrimbor is appearing in some capacity, so I take it he's not just gonna be there to, represent House of Feanor or anything.
That's a great point.
So I think we will see the rings, and I think we will see them being handed out, but we'll see how important that is for the whole show. So should we move to our second exclusive?
Yeah. So are you gonna read it?
Yeah, sure. Okay, exclusive. At Kumeyu, there was an old elven coastal city that is now a human settlement. The humans are rebuilding it in the show. So, what could this possibly mean? Anybody has any ideas?
Al, what do you think?
I mean, the thing that came to my mind immediately was obviously Dol Amroth, or somewhere in Belfalas, and we know that it was originally an elven city that eventually became a city of men over time, and I would love to see this city of half elvens or something like that, and to see old elven architecture below this rebuilt architecture of men.
Yeah, I agree. I actually did some checking regarding Dol Amroth and its history, and yeah. So it was founded by the Sindar, who were fleeing from Beleriand, and they were the original founders of a settlement in that area. And then humans later in the Second Age started building also that location. Then eventually it became Dol Amroth, like a couple thousand years later, when it got its name. So it would be a really cool mix of architecture. So we could see that something like, as you say, Elven nation or something like that.
Yeah, that and the fact that, unless I'm mistaken, I believe that the elves remained there for another, couple of thousand years, even after the arrival of the faithful Numenorians. So I was wondering if maybe that means that we could see some sort of a synergy of elves and Numenorians here for a while, which I think would be really interesting, because I don't think that that's a sort of organization we've ever seen before. I mean, we've seen hobbits and men mix in Bree, but we haven't really seen many elves and, men live together. So I think that could be really interesting to explore. And even Galadriel, I think she's supposed to be living there for quite a while yet with her family. So I'm really excited to see that.
So you're saying she also lived in Dol Amroth?
I believe she lived in Belfalas, so
Okay.
not necessarily in the same place, but yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, that's really interesting. Okay.
I think she might have specifically lived there as well, but I'm not sure about that. So take it with a grain of salt.
Well, I also saw while I was reading about Dol Amroth, that actually the man who specific family of man who came to what then eventually became Dol Amroth was actually one of the faithful, and they were, I think, also in some sort of like familiar relation with Elendil. That could be. I mean, there's a lot of threads that point to Dol Amroth being this, or like the location being where the Dol Amroth eventually be founded.
Indeed, and I just checked, and yes, indeed, Galadriel lived in Dol Amroth. So
Nice.
That could be a really nice situation they have going on there.
Honestly, for me, Dol Amroth is one of the cooler places, one of the more interesting places, especially we never really see it. We never Go there.
We do in the Lord of the Rings Online, and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love it. It's one of my favorite places in that game. So I hope it looks similar. It's just so grand, and I love it.
Yeah, it has to be amazing. It would be really, really outstanding to see that at some point. But though, to be fair, we will probably see that unless they do some, like time compression or something like that. Time compression. You would see Dawn in like a later stage or something like that. I'm not sure, like depending on when we see it.
Yeah.
In the timeline, it would be really, really interesting to see it. And I can't wait. I mean, Prince Miracle. I was so sad when they didn't bring him to the movies.
Yeah, I feel you. I love him too so much.
The charge and him saying Faramir when they were retreating from the failed attack.
Yeah.
He was a Balan. He brought him, and I think his uncle actually. His uncle
Yeah.
Boromir's artisan.
I think so. Yeah.
I miss him so much from the movies.
And there's so many connections, like his daughter, Lothiriel, later on marries Eomer, so they were a very prominent family, and I was really sad to see that they didn't appear. Okay. Shall we move on, gentlemen?
Okay. So, the third exclusive is that it's basically an addition to the second one. So, the massive Elven city set is that's constructed had a tomb-like towers or structures, but mainly consisted of white marble. So this is more like basically a comment on the aesthetics of the city. So how does this sound to you? So tomb-like towers and structures.
First of all, I don't think this is necessarily the same place. I think this could be any of the Elven cities that we see. It could potentially even be Mythland. I don't think we really know. Yeah, but it sounds fabulous.
That tomb term, I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah. I think it was just a comparison, so I don't think it will literally look too much like a tomb. That would be a little bit morbid.
Yeah, especially with elves.
Yeah, especially with the elves. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be a tomb of the Nazgul in particular in an elven city, but I'm not judging.
I'll judge it when I see it. That's what I'll
Yeah.
I will say that, the marble towers do sound very elven, and I actually think it sounds a lot like what Mythland actually looks in the movies. So that was my first association. I thought it could potentially be the Grey Havens.
Yeah, me too. My first thought when I read that was absolutely Mythland would be white marble for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that that sounds like Mythland, but this tomb part is what's confusing me. So
yeah,
that's why I have trouble connecting with Mythland, because that's not my association with Grey Havens. So it's a bit interesting thing.
I really don't think we should take this too literally. Maybe it just looks, grave and elegant and grand, and maybe that's the association they got. Okay, Kyle, do you want to take it away for our final point?
So in our last exclusive, we have, in the concept imagery, there was a large forest with a path through it, leading to a cliff that overlooks a forested area with a river flowing through it. How does that sound?
Fabulous. I mean, I'm an absolute sucker for all things forest, and I really, really love Tolkien's vivid descriptions of them, so just knowing that we will get to see lots of nature scenes, it's just wonderful. And, like we mentioned before, the official synopsis also mentioned the majestic forests of the elf capital of Lindon. So I'm thinking this description could easily fit someplace there. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to see a Regian, but we'll see.
I have to say that I don't imagine the coastal towns to have too many forests around them. or at least I kind of don't expect the characters that will be centered in the coastal cities to spend a lot of time in the woods. But this is just conjecture, and this is just the way I imagine it. And I kind of got the feeling that they will actually center the kingdom of Linden inside this gigantic forest, and that's why I just kind of imagined all these woodland places, like woodland scenes would take place there, but I could easily be completely off.
Yeah, and I mean, it did specifically say that in the plot synopsis, right? It did specifically, like you said, refer to the what was the word they used?
Hold on, I have it right here. The majestic forest of the elf capital of Linden.
So I mean, yeah, I think that's kind of just putting two and two together. But maybe just to play devil's advocate, what about the woodland realm?
Who cares about the woodland realm? You know.
Harsh.
I'm kidding. I jest. Yeah, could be. To be honest, I don't expect that many scenes taking place in the woodland realm. I could be wrong.
But actually, that's not a bad idea, because I mean, at some point they would have like the full right to show them, because they did participate in the Last Alliance.
That's true.
Thanul's father, Moraffair, I think, was the king of the Golden Realm.
Yeah.
So we could. But I would connect this with this one, and also like the main reason why I connect this perhaps with Orients is this part alluding to a cliff that almost a forested area, and the Minorians are notorious that for the fact that they destroyed a lot of woods in Anadwait.
That's
they
true.
Really deforested the whole area, so that's like the connection that I made was maybe with our Farazon.
Yeah.
Perhaps. And this is definitely going out there, as you say.
Yeah.
Like when he starts building the fleet, maybe the forested area could get deforested very quickly. But I mean, that's just like a projection, but it just came to my mind.
That's an interesting point, and I think that's certainly something that Amazon would want to show in this series.
Yeah, indeed.
And it does fit with Tolkien's themes of like industry, nature. So
yeah, absolutely,
it could fit very nicely, and I mean they should probably show that at some point.
Entwives.
Yeah.
Let's see some.
Entwives.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes, please. I mean, we've been talking about whether the Balrogs are making an appearance and the dragons, but we haven't really been talking about the Ents, and they would be there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the number one thing we could expect to see, really.
And after all, it was Sauron that scourged their lands eventually, and I believe that must have been before the Last Alliance. So that could be part of the tragedy of the times that we see in the show.
Good point.
That would be nice.
Oh, but then we could perhaps see a younger Treebeard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Like John Rhys Davies coming back towards the Treebeard.
Yeah, he'll be up for it, I'm sure.
Now, for a second, to imagine that. That's good.
I like it.
All right.
Also, the forests at the time of during the Second Age, they were much bigger. So you also see, like if potentially if you even went there to help Entwives and Ents, like they could be a lot of them. They could be a lot more active.
Mm-hmm.
Like more lively than they are at the end of Third Age.
Yeah, definitely.
So
yeah. I agree, and I must say that when they revealed the final map, back when they were revealing the setting for this show, and it was really heavily forested, I got really excited. So this really sounds good to me. I'm just really excited to hear anything whatsoever about the elves. I hope they play a very prominent part in this show. So whatever little tidbit we hear, it's good news for me.
I agree with that, honestly. Yeah. Okay, so guys, shall we wrap it up for tonight?
I think we've said everything.
Covers it.
Okay, well, hi Lakita, it was a pleasure to be here with you again tonight.
Hey, thanks so much. This was lovely.
Yeah, always great to chat. This was awesome.
Yeah. Always really cool to chat with you. I was really looking forward to tonight. So, okay, that's all for tonight. So goodbye, friends. Thank you for being with us tonight. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.